Good morning, my friend. Welcome back to the Higher Grounds Podcast. Thank you for dropping by. Last week, we had the grand boys around the podcast table, and we were talking about Benjamin's deer story and how that he had killed a really nice deer on last year, and he did. He killed a great deer.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that my children and my grandchildren are enjoying the outdoors the way that I have done down through these years, and it has become a family affair, and we're grateful. My granddaughter Lainey shot her first deer this year, and it's just a blessing to see the youngins enjoying that. And I invited Joe back on. We didn't get a chance to talk about Joseph's deer stories. He killed a couple of deer this year as well.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about that here in just a minute and share those stories with you from Joseph's deer hunt. But I want to talk to him about. If you remember last week, we were talking to Benjamin. We weren't really talking. All we were doing was listening. Benjamin hogged the microphone and just talk. And he can tell a story. He's a storytelling man. Mm-hmm. And so he did a good job telling the story. But we want to come back on, and one of the things that I want to talk about with you today is, we said in last week's podcast that when you normally hunt with your brothers,
I usually hunt with them,
and you weren't with them because you were with me.
Yeah.
And we had responded to a need up in Avery County, North Carolina, mm-hmm. and we had gotten some funds together, and we'd gotten some work together, some of our guys, and we rode to the mountains and carried your uncle and I. And you went with us.
Yeah.
We carried a load, a trailer load, big trailer load of driveway tiles up to try to be a blessing to the people in Avery County in regard to the flooding that Hurricane Helene had done. And I know that you've heard a lot about it through the news, and you've probably given to the cause in some way, whether it's funds or whether it's been canned goods or some kind of staple that you've given to be a blessing to those people up there. But you got to go with me, and you got to see this for yourself. We stayed at the fire department. What was the name of that fire department?
Frank something.
Yeah, I think it's Frank Fire. What was it, Joe? Frank. I think it's called Frank Fire Department. It's in the Frank community.
Yeah.
And we had really good accommodations. The people at the fire station took care of us, mm-hmm. and we had the opportunity of meeting a lot of people, spending a lot of time trying to be a blessing to folks. And we had a good handful of men that were together.
Yeah.
But the working team, we took up skid steers and mini X's and excavators, and dug and did a lot of driveway work and that kind of thing. And then we went and did some tree work because there was a lot of tree work to be done in that area. You got to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
Okay. From your memory, what is your impression of what you saw there?
It's amazing what water can do. That's really what I saw.
Yeah, it is amazing. Give some of the examples of some of the things that you saw that was amazing.
Just trash piles on the road where they've been trying to clean up, and like old cattle fields, and there's rivers running beside them, and just took all that cattle field. And
and a lot of the pasture fields it'll take years to get those pasture fields back because they were along the riverbank, which means they were in a great area, fertile area, but because of the flood, they completely flooded with rock and river rock and gravel, and it'll take years to get all the rock out of those fields from the flooding. Mm-hmm. And then talk about some of the houses.
And the houses, they're just flipped over on their side. Brand new house that we saw, it was probably a $500,000 house, maybe. I may be exaggerating a little bit there, but it was the whole back of it was just wiped out on the riverbank.
Was that the log cabin house
Yeah.
that we saw? Yeah, it was totally. I mean, the entire back of the house was just torn away, and beautiful house. And
Beautiful.
he's not exaggerating with a $500,000 house. It might have been even more because it was a custom log home.
Yeah.
But and there were many more. And we would ride along the riverbank or along the side of the river, the roads that ran alongside the river, and there were dumpsters, just washed down, big huge dumpsters that the water had picked up like they were nothing, and just washed them on down the road and just piled them up in cars that got picked up and piled up down the river somewhere. It was just phenomenal to me, the amount of loss, but yet it seemed like the people that were there were in just outstanding spirits. I mean, and that is the spirit of mountain people.
Yeah.
They just they are hardworking people, and when bad things happen, they just tend, most of them, if they're from the area, they just tend to start from where they're at and go on.
Yeah.
But it was devastating.
Yes, very.
Yeah. And there were still people at that time that had not been found. And while we were there, there was a family of 5 that was found in a sandbank. And what had happened was they were driving and their car got swept away, and then it washed under a load of silt or sand. And, they found them weeks and weeks later.
Yeah.
We were there in November. Yeah, Helene had happened in early October, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Late September, early October. And they had been there for, 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
And had been dead for quite some time. But it was a whole family of 5. And that story is told over and over again, But what did you enjoy about being up there?
Just helping, trying to be a blessing there.
Yeah. To me, there's nothing any more fulfilling than trying to be a help and trying to be a blessing to people that are in need. And, I was talking to a lady, and Joe was with me, Joseph. We got Joe Nathan and then Joseph, but Joe was with me. We were standing talking to a lady, and we were doing some tree work for her. He'd cut trees and split wood and whatever, and cut a load of wood, or several loads, whatever it was.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a
it was
bunch
a lot.
of
It was
wood,
a bunch.
bunch of big trees. Anyway, so we were talking to her, and I noticed that her yard went out and then just dropped off maybe 10 feet down to the river bottom, but the river was not running up to her property line. The river was, maybe, 40, 50 feet away from her property line out in the river, the normal river channel. And so I asked her, I said, how close up to your house did the water get? And she said it came, and where we were standing was way up in her yard, I don't know, a few hundred feet from the edge of her property. She said it came up to where y'all are standing here at this tree. And she said, I sat on the porch and watched 30 plus feet of my yard fall off and just wash away down the river.
And the river wasn't even that big that we saw it.
No, I would say that river was probably 25, 30 feet wide, maybe, or something like that. I mean, it's probably more of a creek than a river.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was devastating what it did, and the way, we think about floods down on the East Coast of North and South Carolina. We think of floods in Florida. It's all flat land and it's sand. Well, this land is, a lot of it's clay, and then you've got multiple streams and creeks and springs that are coming out of every holler of every mountain, and every one of them flooded and just flowed down to the river or to the creeks, and then fed on downstream, and it just became a torrent, and the devastation was just unbelievable. Hey, those people fed us good, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Man, we got good food while we were there. Mm-hmm. It was a blessing. Yep. And we tried to go to church.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried to go to church. We went to one church and they were closed up. And and then we went to another church and we walked in, getting ready for church. Yeah. We was there 30 minutes or more early. We walked in and they were in the middle of service. We didn't realize they started at 5:30 or whatever. And we did. It was funny. It was funny. We walked in the middle of the guys preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. The old preacher in tennis shoes.
Yeah. Blue jeans, button-up shirt, and tennis shoes.
Yeah, that's right. It was a casual service, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was
a
casual. It was casual.
Casual that day. Anyway, well, hey, tell me about your deer. That's why one of the reasons why I wanted. We told Ben's story. Tell yours.
Well, I was, me and my dad was hunting. Well, Benjamin was with us. It was the last day of deer season. Well, let me jump back to the first deer I killed this deer season. So, me, Benjamin, Samuel, and Benjamin were all in this little buddy blind down there, the bottom at the property.
Yeah.
And there was a creek bottom. And Dale walked out one time. I was
Talking about the 115.
Yeah,
the creek at the 115. Yeah. Was there any water in that this year?
Oh yeah, yeah. They had some droughts, but not where we cross.
Right.
Yeah. So I was using a 270, and a couple does came in. One doe came in, then, well, actually a couple does came in. It was like 4 does, and I was trying to get one lined up, but that just didn't work out. So I shot it, and we had some good meat. She's a real big old doe.
Oh yeah.
Made a pretty good shot and dropped her right in her tracks.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great. Did your dad kill any this year?
Nope.
He didn't kill any. He let you boys do it, did he?
Yeah.
And then the second one.
Then well, this one's funny. Me and Ben and Dad were hunting that morning. We had a guy from the church hunting with us too, and
who's hunting with you?
Brendan Reeves.
Oh, was Brandon hunting?
Yeah. He wants
to kill a deer so bad.
Yeah.
Don't he?
He got the jumpies for killing deer. So first off, I can't remember right, but I think it was Benjamin that shot his little button buck first. He's like, when he missed like 2 deer from the 243 because it don't have a very good scope and it wasn't that sided in, and he shot and he gut shotted it.
No, he didn't.
He missed 2 deer. Then he's like, I ain't using that thing. I'm using Dad's 270. So he got the 270 up there. I think he flinched a little bit, and it dropped. He got shot at. He dropped that power of that 270. He went boom. Then she got up, ran about 20 yards from where the corn was, and she laid up right there, and we got her. Yeah. Then about maybe I'd say about 25, 30 minutes later, we thought it was a doe. So it was last day of deer season. So if it's brown, it's down. So we got the 270 up. Then Daddy said, "Don't shoot, it's a spike." I thought he said, "Shoot now." So I shot and dropped him right in his tracks. It was a spike, a little 2-pointer. And I thought he said shoot, but he said, "Don't shoot, it's a spike." Then after he's dead laying there on the ground, I dropped it right in his tracks again. Then Daddy said, "It was a spike. Why'd you shoot?" "I thought you said shoot." I said, "No, I said don't shoot, it's a spike."
But you thought if it's brown, it's down,
yeah, right? I thought so. But I still want to kill the spike if I knew it was a spike.
Well, that's probably the best he was ever going to be.
Yeah.
You like deer hunting?
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do?
I like hunting a lot.
Period.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you like hunting better than fishing?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah, I like hunting better.
But y'all fish all the time.
We fish all the time, yes.
Y'all caught some good fish.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I caught some good fish this year down at y'all's farm.
Yeah, you did.
You
caught a real nice crappie and a real nice bass.
I'm talking about two back to back.
Yeah, back to back.
Yeah, I caught some good fish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've killed some good deer, but I have probably caught better fish than I've killed deer.
You've taken fishing more than deer hunting.
Yeah, I have. It was fishing to me is just particularly, I used not to really like fishing, particularly on like lakes and stuff. Mm-hmm. But when I got into trout fishing with a fly rod in those creeks, I like catching fish, but it doesn't matter if you catch fish or not.
Oh, yeah.
It's tiring because you're in the water, fighting the water, but it's also relaxing.
Yes.
And I love it, And I think the Lord's, the Lord could have put us in any place in the world.
Yes.
I mean, there's good men. They're in New York City reaching people with the gospel in New York City. And there's, good men that are in Boston, Massachusetts, or Atlanta, Georgia, or wherever, reaching the inner city with the gospel. But I like the fact that God loves us enough, us that have this interest, loves us enough to put us in a place where we can enjoy life and yet still do the will of the Lord.
Yes.
And, the Bible said that God has given us all things that pertain to life and to godliness. And so the Lord doesn't just want us to be godly. He wants us to be godly, but he also wants us to live our life. And some people, they are at the place and point with their religion that they have no life, zero living, no enjoyment at all. And they are constantly trying to do something to please God, do something to impress God, do something for God, do something for God. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the Lord intends for us to live a contented, happy life that is enjoyable. And I'm glad that God has given that to us as a family. And it's not that we don't love the Lord. It's not that we don't serve the Lord. We serve the Lord with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our mind, with all of our strength. But we get to enjoy life as we do it as well. And it's amazing that you've got Peter and John and a bunch of guys that go fishing because they're not contented with how God let things turn out, and they don't catch nothing. And then you've got Jesus sitting on the shore. He's completely satisfied with the way things turned out, and he's catching fish left and right. And he's got a whole bunch of fish for them to eat, and he gets to enjoy godliness and the good things of life as well. And so just give your heart to God. Give your heart to God. Let God have everything that you are. And at the same time, enjoy the life he's given you to live. And I kid sometimes with Jonathan and different people. Sometimes we overcomplicate or overthink things. God is wanting us to know his will and then to enjoy our walk in this life. And as we do that, you can lay down at night knowing you've had a great, great day. Hey, think on these things. Have yourself a wonderful day. And you keep pressing on the upward way. See you next week.